Hello and good evening, everybody, to our second episode from First Evidence, the YouTube channel. My name is Sam, and this is, as I told you, the second episode of the history of religions. And today we are going to talk about one of the most important subjects in religion, which is basically the history, the God of Babylon. In this episode, I'm not going to be alone. I'm going to be with my close friend, Alex Green. He's going to join me later. But for now, I'm just going to give you like a little hint about what our episode is going to talk about. This episode is basically something that any believer needs to understand it and realize that everything evolved from everything before it. So even information was evolving from other information, old history, ancient history, myth, if there is any myth, if there is any story told by someone or a tribe or some people or a country or a group of people living together. So they will basically tell you stories, and the stories can be evolving as they probably like when you travel from one place to another, the story will be adapting the new place, it will be adapting the geography, it will be adapting the new beliefs of other people that you're visiting. So imagine that we live like 6,000 years ago. You'll be like, it's a very simple life, it's not going to be that complicated. People are looking to get food and shelter, the place that they can stay safe. So they're not going to be like high demands. They're not going to be like high maintenance. People will be basically looking for the basic things that makes them alive. Religion at that time was part of that, but it was not evolved like the one that we have today. Religion that time was basically considering there is a God in the skies or superpowers. They're not even like called gods at that time, or God like a single or plural, because 6,000 years ago until like 7,000 years ago, the people did believe that there is gods. I mean, like plural, like a lot of gods, and there is main gods, sub gods, and sub gods. And even there is like a demigods. Demigods is basically like a combination between gods and human being. When they are meeting together, like Hercules. Hercules is a demigod, is a sub god. He's not like he's half human, half whatever, superpowers. So we will basically talk about the god of Babylon. This is in our history. As I told you, like I was born in Iraq and Mesopotamia, and it's a great history over there. So I'm always like encouraging people, please go and read about Mesopotamia, about the old and ancient Babylon. Read about the Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians. They used to live in that area. If you read more about them, you'll be realizing that most of our current religions are basically adapted and evolved from that first idea that came in Babylon. And before that, of course, the Sumerians. How do we know that? From the writings, because Sumerians were the first people to write. So the first recorded history was over there. I mean, like, there's a lot of people who saying that Egyptian did start the hieroglyphics, basically the picturing thing. We know that they can talk because they have the vocals and they can talk, but the recorded history suggested that either Mesopotamia or Old Egypt are the first two civilizations to start writing. So from that, we're going to take the stories of the creation, stories about God, and then we will talk about it and see the similarities between the gods of Babylon and the gods that we got in Abrahamic religions like Yahweh, Yahweh, Jehovah, and then Ahia. We're going to talk about Jesus. We're going to talk about Allah in Islam. All of those things that you are basically seeing or listening to are basically derivative of one old and ancient story. We're going to start with that, but before we start, first, please welcome my friend Alex Green. How you doing, Alex?
Hi, Mr. Sam. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. How are you doing?
Okay. Hi, sir. My greetings for you and for all your followers. I mean, and who gonna see the episode in the future? So my
I
greetings
like
for
that, the
all.
future. The future. Like, well, one day, somebody who's listened to our language, we are sorry, we're not like a native English speakers. So we will do our best to get the story in a simple way so anyone who speaks English can understand it. We know the story in Arabic very good. But in English, we're trying basically to enlarge our base, people to hear us, because there is a lot of people got into most of the religions just by inheriting the religion, or basically they were misled and deceived by other people, painting their religion to be like a very peaceful religion. It's really nice. We help other people, but it's not. It's not. It's a different story. So we will get back to you, Mr. Alex. But first, I will
Yeah.
start with what my famous start, like as in Google. I appreciate Google, because now you can read a book. As I told you in the other episode, you can basically read a book from the other side on Earth right now. One click away. Google, the search engine, made this happen. The YouTube that you're listening to me right now, or a podcast or stuff like that, all of those technologies are basically a gift by humanity in the human brain who created them. There is no such thing as God created anything, because we do not have any evidence of a God. Even the people who truly believe there is a God, they cannot support their beliefs with any kind of evidence. The only thing that they are supporting their beliefs is faith. They do have faith that there is a God. Faith, there is like a supernatural power. Faith, there is something called miracle. So I will do like the first prayer, and I'm going to do this every episode. So, oh God, peace and blessings from you upon Google and the people of Google. All who
Amen.
believes, praise and greet Google and the people of Google. That's exactly what it says in Arabic. اللهم صل على جوجل وعلى آل جوجل وسلم تسليما كثيرا يا أيها الذين
Amen.
آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. So if you hear such thing, that's the prayers, and we're gonna start our episodes, every English episode, with this prayers. So help me, God. Uh, which
Amen.
which God?
Uh, yes, Sam. In the beginning, you remind me about, if we can say, wisdom from Sigmund Freud. I think everybody knows this person. He said the civilization starts when a human throw a word instead of a rock.
Wow, that's deep.
So yeah. So you remind me about this sentence. Actually, the civilization starts when a first person try to use the language.
All right. So basically, you're saying that using the language made other people, instead of throwing a rock, which is basically a physical thing, somebody threw a
Exactly.
word, which is basic. It does not have any physical dimensions, but it did create a lot of what is it, like waves. Like when you throw a stone in a lake, in a pond or something,
Uh-huh.
you'll see like those kind of circles, which basically the waves on the water. It's basically moving from one to a bigger one to a bigger one until if you keep throwing those stones in the lake, those ripples will stay like and
Yeah.
grow bigger and bigger and bigger until they will fade away.
This is
Lucky,
the first, yeah, this is, I think, the first meaning. The second meaning, because they were using rocks to fight each other.
all right.
So when a person, the first person who start the language, he make the conversation between him and the other.
So
So that
you're
means,
talking
yeah,
about the vocal language that people will use to
exactly, yeah,
speak, basically.
exactly,
All
the
right.
speech.
All right. Good. So in this episode, what we are going to do for you, me and Alex, we are basically going to explain some of the main stories and old ancient story of the Enuma Elish. Enuma Elish is the creation story of seven tablets, the Babylonian seven tablets of creation. We're not gonna read the scripture like as they are there in Google. You can basically Google them. You can search them. So you can find all the books and related, even pictures. You can see pictures of those clay tablets, whatever left of them, anyways,
Yeah.
whatever left of them. But there are seven tablets, and they are talking about the creation of the universe. You know what I said like in the last episode, Alex, is Marduk is the Babylonian god.
Yeah,
He
Murdoch.
Yeah, he used seven layers of air to trap inside Tiamat. Tiamat, which is basically a water dragon, something like that. It basically ruled. It's like the spirit of some kind of like a beast. All right, it's
It's
like a beast.
yeah. They point at it as the first life, the water, and from here you can find in other religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Uh, the first thing was created is water. So this idea developed from what you're talking about. Tiamat is the first water, and I think there is another story for the Anki. The An is the earth, and Ki is the sky, and there was between them the god Enlil, the god Enlil, the god of air. So yeah,
The
go
thing is
ahead.
that here's the idea is about a revolution. There was supposed to be like a revolution between Epsu. They wanted to kill Epsu. All right.
Yeah,
And then Apso remains. Enki creates his home. Tiamat basically want to take Marduk want to revenge Apsu and by killing Tiamat. It's a story. It's a story about how the creation of earth and skies started.
yeah.
At the same time, we're gonna tell you some stories from the Bible, which is from the Old Testament, from the book of
The
Genesis, and we will basically show you the similarities in the stories. But before we're gonna tell you that, we are gonna have to speak a little bit of history about what happened in the Babylonian era and how those people, which is the Hebrew people, how
uh-huh.
did they end up being in Babylon in the first place?
Yeah,
Because the Old Testament is deceiving people into as if the Hebrews and Israelites were in Babylon after they convey their beliefs and they became Jews, which is not true. The truth is, and by history, I'm not saying the truth is because no, that's the history, is that Babylonian used to enslave Hebrews by the at the in the 1100 like 19 to 1098 BC or BCE, I'm sorry, by the leader Nebuchadnezzar. And this guy basically what he did, he enslaved those people and brought them to Babylon, and they were slaves for about 70 years or more. So those Hebrews, they were like just like a nomad, just like a tribes who they're living in the area between Egypt and Old Egypt and Mesopotamia, and they used to steal the, like if there is any convoys, like trading convoys, and they're basically stealing things. Sometimes they irritate the people who comes with the trades through that line. So Nebuchadnezzar, he said like, we have enough, we are going to get them. And so he killed most of them, and then the rest he basically enslaved into Babylon. So they stayed there, as by the Bible, which is the Old Testament, says like the Jews lived there, for the Israelites lived there for about 70 years. The thing is that there were never been something called Israel. We will get back to this syllable after. Why? Because El, that's it. It's the same name, Bab El. So El is the god of Babylon. So it's Babel. It's Babel. But it's El. So that's why you say like Israel, Gabriel.
It's, you mean, sir? You mean God's gate, right?
God's gate. Yeah,
Because
the
Bab in Arabic is a gate.
exactly, or the door.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
A door or a gate. So Bab El, Bab in Arabic, it's an old ancient word, by the way. Bab, it's not Arabic. It's a derivative of Sumerian. Sumerian Bab, and we used it now. Now for Arabic, Bab means door or a gate. So like Bawaba. All right. So
Correct.
the Bab means the gate of the gods. So we're not going to go into extraterrestrial life and the people who Anunnakis and Enkis they might be, or some consider them to be extraterrestrial life visited Earth. We're not going to go there, but you can basically do whatever you want. It's your life. You can understand it. But we're going to talk about the history of how Nebuchadnezzar got those people and enslaved them. And during their time when they were enslaved, the people were learning the Babylonian religions. It's not one. They are basically saw and hear. They heard all the stories about the Enumalish, the creation of Earth, creation of human beings. They know the skies and the air and the layer of air of Tiamat. They know that Tiamat used to live on water, on surface of water, and then they know that it was dark. That's the thing. So when you go to Genesis, and I'm just gonna jump into Genesis just a little bit. If you go to Genesis, chapter 1, verses 1, or verse 1, I'm sorry. In the beginning, God created heavens on the earth. Do you know what that
Exactly.
means?
Yeah, exactly.
What is the name
But
of heaven to Judaism? What is that name of that heaven? Do you know the name?
actually,
Eden.
Eden. Yeah, Eden
Is the place, the heavens, that basically
it,
for the
it started
Judaism.
on Earth. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So that's the difference between Islam and Judaism. I'm not going to talk about Christianity because Christianity is a derivative of Judaism. But Islam and Judaism, they have a difference in considering where is heaven. In the last episode, in the previous episode, I said that heaven to Muslims is up, but heavens to Jews is here on earth. How did I came
exactly.
up with this conclusion? Because in the Old Testament, he would tell Adam and Eve to get out, not to go down. But in Islam, he ordered them to go down.
Yeah.
Well, it can mean like any interpretation, but anyway, we know like both of us were ex-Muslims, so we do not believe when we were Muslims that the heaven is here on earth. We know it's in the upper skies, probably in the upper universe, right?
Yes, exactly. Actually, it's developed. It's not. This idea didn't came like um, as a like one story. It came like as we know, like
Different stories.
The Sumerians started with this myth, and then other like Akkadian and Ashurian, and then Babylonians also take, and then they put their fingerprint on it.
All
You
right.
understand me? Yeah. So this idea is developed from civilization to other civilization. Each civilization, they put their, as I said, their fingerprint on it. So you can recognize the Babylonian and Sumerian from like different names, but same, probably very close story. So when Jewish tribe, they were living, and now we call it Israel or Palestine.
You're
They
talking
were
about
just
the Hebrew, not the
the
Jewish
Hebrews,
tribes. Yeah,
correct? Yeah,
yeah.
uh, they were just a small tribe live in a desert. So there was no civilization out there. There have like they've been occupied from other civilizations before that, like from Egypt and from Ashurian, which is Syria and Iraq. So um, you talked about Nebuchadnezzar, and this is, I think, 597 BC. They occupied that area, and they enslaved all uh, those tribes and bring them to Babylon.
Okay.
So when they came to Babylon, they saw the civilization and they heard about these. At that time, that was like very in,
What are you talking about?
interesting,
Like,
interesting idea. Like when they hear about God and God, how God creates Earth, and they heard about the sky. It just uh, leather, right? That's
okay.
what the Babylonians says. The sky was leather, and the God divided the water on earth by the
You're
water in the
talking
sky
about,
by
are
each
you talking
letter.
about the Babylonian story?
Yes,
The Babylonian
yes,
story is talking about Babylonian, not Sumerian.
yes.
Babylonian story is about Marduk of the Mesopotamian religion.
Uh-huh.
He basically fought with Tiamat. Tiamat is basically a kind of dragon that hover above water, and he cut it with his sword into two pieces, slice it into two, skies and earth. So when he killed Tiamat, he basically created earth and skies. And if we go back to Genesis, And please tell me if this is going to be like very surprising for you, the similarity of the story. So on Genesis 2, verse 2, says, "Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit, listen to this, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters."
Same thing in Islam. God created his throne on a water.
Water, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
As you
same
see,
thing.
like water is always there in the beginning of creation. Somebody's stealing from, like, everybody's stealing from others. Can you believe that?
That's what we talking about. Yeah, like the first myth started, and then each one take this myth and develop it and put his fingerprint on it.
The
So
next one is my favorite. When he said, like, the third verse, and God said, "Let there be light." Really?
yeah,
And
there
there
was
was
no
light.
sun. There is was yeah.
I mean, like, can you imagine? Like, I go every time to my home, like when I go to my room and it's dark, and I hold my switch, the switch, the lamp,
Yeah.
and I said, let there be light, and then I just switch it on, and there will be light. I said, like, and there was light,
God
which
like it.
exactly, and then God saw that light was good.
Yeah. And the problem, the fourth day of creation, he created sun and moon.
That's no. We're gonna go back to that. Well, we just need to understand why God created light, and how did He created light when He can basically. Well, everybody knows about the Big Bang, right?
Uh-huh.
We know that there will be no oxygen, but basic water is H2O.
Exactly.
So one molecule of oxygen combined to two molecules of hydrogen, that will give you a compound we called water,
Yes.
H2O. If you just read like about the Big Bang, that theory, that great theory of the Big Bang, you would know that the light would be really in the beginning stages billions of years before the oxygen were formed. Like oxygen as a molecule or as an atom, like the atomic number of oxygen, it needs billions of years before the water can be created and reformed to be like
Exactly.
H2O. So
Yeah.
the Bible
Yeah.
was
Sun.
really
Uh,
mistaken. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's lead me to a question to you. So water, even in Islam, was in the beginning. So water was exist before God. Uh, how I can
before
explain that?
before God is Himself.
Exactly. Exactly.
So the idea is, when you're talking to some like believers, and you said like they will put everything back to God, right? They will say like, who created the watch? Like they will talk about the watch. Do you think that an explosion happened and the watch happened? No, no, no. We all know that the watch was basically collected and the material was made and they put together to create a watch. And by the way, if you don't know, the Babylonian, those people who created 60 minutes and every minute into 60 seconds, and they're the people who basically divided our time and months based on zodiac history, like in the observation of skies. If you don't know this information, those are the people who created the 60 minutes that you lived in. Like now, we spend almost 30 minutes in our broadcasting. The people who basically created that concept were Sumerians. I'm talking about Mesopotamia. So
Yeah,
those are the people who created such thing that we are basically now measuring our life upon.
exactly.
So
The
how come
60, you mean the 60 seconds equal a minute and 60
60
minutes
minutes
equal an
equals one
hour,
hour?
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And not only that, they got the names of the zodiacs, the 12 months, the months of winter. They got calculations. They got the numbers. They know the time. The first watch was a Babylonian sun clock,
Exactly. That
and
was the system which is they've been using in Sumerian civilization.
so how come that we take their minutes, their hours, and not take their first story about the creation and how similar it is to the Old Testament? I'm not talking about
Yes.
Islam. We're talking like 3,000 years before the Old Testament.
Yeah.
This is amazing. So anyway, so God always sees that this is good. He feels good. You know, God is like a human.
Yeah.
So he's like me and you. Like when you like have a smoke, he's like, ah, this is good.
Yeah.
So God created light, and He saw, and
Yeah.
He saw. Like it means that He has an eyes, and He
Yeah.
saw that it was good, and then
Yeah.
He spreaded light from the darkness, and that's the mistake where Islam fell into. Islam thought that God created darkness and light as if they are two different creations. The problem is darkness is absence of light.
Yeah. But you said that Judaism uh, believes in heaven, and I think that that was uh, after the Tanakh. The Tanakh is the first five
The first five books,
books, yeah, of Moses, and in
well,
those there was
they're
no heaven.
claiming.
The heaven, yeah, the heaven. They think the heaven gonna happen on this earth, like when their Messiah or Hamashiach comes, he gonna create their heaven on earth. The concept of heaven in the sky that wasn't exist yet.
Yes, the concept of heavens is not
Yeah,
really like now they are in the beginning. They are getting the concept of the Babylonians, who basically got the concept from the Sumerians and the Akkadians, Assyrians
yeah,
in Mesopotamia. We're talking about evolving of religion. That's why when we talk
exactly.
about the god of Babylon, that was a big thing at that time. So the people who were slaves by the first, by the way, it happens two times, not even one, two times. The first
Hmm.
time was on the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, and the second
Yes,
time happens on the hands of Naram Sin.
yeah.
So it happens two times to the same tribes of the people who lived in that area. So
I
when
think uh, I think the Assyrians they were the first. Uh,
I'm not really sure about the Assyrian if they did something like that before, but we can basically look into that.
yeah, yeah. That was before. The last one was the second Babylonian invasion to that area, and he killed the king of them and bring them all as slaves in Babylon. They watched, they see the civilization. They were just living in desert, and they learn a lot from the Babylonian civilizations, and they try to create to themselves as their own story, and from here the the problem started. Those people, they just want to make a history for them, even if they lie sometimes, even if they put something not like not real in history, but they try to create uh, their history. So
They're
they
trying to
believes
create
in
their own
El.
version
Yeah,
of that
exactly. And
religion.
El was,
Yeah.
yes. Go ahead, sir.
No,
El was
yeah, I'm sorry. Are you talking about eel? Yeah, or L?
Il or El or
Yeah.
El. It's yeah. I wasn't there. I didn't hear it from them, so I can say Il or El. So uh, the Babylonians, and just to inform like some people, the geography or that time, Babylonians and Ashurians and Syria, there was no borders. So, for example, the emperor of Ashurian, it was north of Iraq and north of Syria and Lebanon, and then
You're
take
talking
all
about
that.
the empire, not the emperor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Empire.
the empire.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they were believed the Aramis and the Kananis. They were believed one of their gods. They have Baal and they have El or Il uh, as
But
a
you know,
god. So
Baal is the same derivative of Il. They used to call Marduk Baal. Do you know that, right?
yeah,
So
Baal.
he's the same god, the same pagan god of Babylonian era that
Sir.
basically moved to from Mesopotamia into Ogarit, which is basically Syria right now. We call Syria now, and they called Marduk Baal. So Baal.
Baal is the meaning of Baal in Hebrew language is the master. So they have El, the major divine, and they have Baal. He's the god of planets, plants of and water and uh, like fruits and everything.
So you're
So
talking about food, the
then
god of food,
yeah, exactly.
all right?
So
God of
they mix
agriculture.
them exactly. Yeah, they mix these two gods in one god. So they are.
All right, so let's go back to the story in the Enuma Elish. Murdoch cut his sword and basically went into fighting Tiamat, and then he split Tiamat's in two halves. He used Enlil, all right, Enlil,
Uh-huh.
which is the Lord of the Wind. They call it the
Exactly.
Lord of the Fog. Some people call him wind, fog.
Yeah.
So and then Enlil send four winds, which is north, south, east, west, to capture Tiamat in a place because as we said, she and she is a she is the beast hovering above water, which is her kingdom, and she's the spirit, and she's really strong. So Murdoch used his sword and cut Tiamat into two halves. All right, the first half,
Uh-huh.
you can see that in the Genesis, book of Genesis, on verses 6. And then God said, let there be a wall between the waters to separate water from water. So he's talking about separating two layers of water. We're talking about something hovering on the surface of water, as if you're cutting water
Yeah.
into two halves. And then he would say, so God made the vault separate water under the vault from the water and above it. So called God called it the upper one is the sky, and and there was evening and there was a morning, and the second day he's talking about the days of creation, and the water under the sky gathered in one place and the dry ground appeared. So let's go back to the Babylonian story. Babylonian story says Marduk cut and killed Tiamat and cut it into two halves. It's the upper half were the skies, the lower half were earth. If you go to Islam, Islam would say that السماء والأرض, heaven and earth, or skies and earth, were two pieces attached together. And then they were
And he
ripped off. He ripped off between them, as if like Murdoch was ripping off Tiamat into skies and earth. So that's the
and
thing we're basically talking. Yes, please go ahead.
yes, no, you're correct. I just want to remind you, he even in Islam, he lifted the seven skies.
Yeah,
So
the seven skies is not appearing on the Old Testament, but it did appear in Islam. The same seven layers of wind that Murdoch used to inside of Tiamat. So let's say Enlil helped Murdoch to capture Tiamat by the four winds. And then Murdoch sent seven layers of air inside Tiamat, inside her, and then cut her into two pieces, earth and sky. Well, the seven layers of air in Islam, you can find it in the story, and they said like there is seven skies, and God built seven skies,
yeah,
right?
yes, you're correct. Yeah,
So but let's leave a
I
little bit
think
Genesis and go back
logic.
more to the stories. I'm sorry.
No, I think logically, if you think and imagine yourself in that time, they don't have the science what we have. They just look at the sky, and the sky reflect the watercolor, and and because raining come from the sky, they thought uh, God separated the sky and earth by a very big piece of leather, you know. And I see that in that time, that's a very good imagination.
Well, the Babylonian and Sumerians and Assyrians, Akkadians before that, we know that most of the stories, as I said in episode one, most of the stories were basically stolen from or evolved, developed from those beginning myths that they are started. The mythology of the Mesopotamia and Egyptian, the old Egypt. Those are the main, I'm going to say the fuel to the religions come after 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years ago. After
Yeah.
the Babylonian and Sumerian eras.
Yes.
So well, we're not gonna read into the books of the Genesis now because we are
Yes.
going to create like an. We'll make another episode that will basically talk about what is the difference between reality as in creation and what are the days between
Hmm.
Islamic and Judaism and Jewish like beliefs about how are the 7 days of creation. In Judaism is 6 days and the seventh day, which is today, God rested. Unfortunately, we're not going to give God any kind to rest because we're working on Saturday, which is the God's day. Blessing to the gods. Yeah, and there is like there is one thing I will try to say it in English. I don't know how it's gonna appear. I said like
Uh,
I'll say it until there is no breath. Rabbit meat is forbidden. We
I
have
think,
scriptures.
yeah. So by the way, I want to apologize about my language. Actually, I just want to explain that to you. This is not my first language. My first language is Arabic. So forgive us about our accent and our language. By the way, me and Sam, we born in Iraq, and we learned the English by the British accent.
I, I'm
like
I'm more like
like
I'm more like
not,
talking in American
yeah,
accent. You know.
exactly, yeah. Like the first time, like when I learned, for example, well, water is not water, it's water.
Water.
So
That
sometimes
sounds
our
like a
accent is not
water.
really perfect. So excuse us, guys. So
Of,
yeah, go ahead,
I
Sam.
mean, like, I hope they can excuse us. Of course, I mean, like, when they listen, like, Alex, even if we talk like a different language, and the people like the gurus who are like Indian Pakistanis, and they speak English, and the people knows that this is not their
Yeah,
first language,
yeah,
they will still listen when you are saying like a nice information. The people that you are telling the story to, they are accepting who we are. So
yeah,
I want to thank them for listening to us, and to me, like, for in particular, this is the second episode. But I want to do one thing about similarities that we are going to talk about
yeah.
in the coming days. I'm not really sure when to do the next episode. Hopefully, it will be every Saturday. But please smash that like button, please, and subscribe to the channel, because this is gonna help the channel grow into the algorithm. YouTube and the God Google, blessing be upon Google and the people of Google. They need the algorithm to work. So if you push that like button, if you comment, if you leave a comment, if you share this video, it will help us grow faster and get into other people, really, and then we can basically like tell them the story from our like point of view, our ex-Muslims, and we'll explain this story as we know it. And because I know a lot of people, a lot of Muslim people, like I live in the States, and I got a lot of friends. Even Alex lives in the States, and we got a lot of friends that we see. They're basically non-Arabic speaking people, and they converted to Islam. I was like, holy crap. So we left Islam and see people are converting to Islam. The only thing in the idea that we got together is that those people, they do not know what we know, because we know Arabic and we know all the stories.
Exactly.
Then the idea emerges, and then me and Alex says, like, we're gonna have to talk to those people in our own language, like this simple English, and we will tell them exactly what is Islam, and then you can basically choose to believe or not. It's not gonna hurt me if you are a believer. It will hurt me if you kill me, because one of those religions are basically very terroristic, I think, if the
Yeah,
word is
yeah.
is not too
Violence.
harsh. It's very violent, right? It's
Yeah.
very
Yes.
aggressive. That it does not mean that. Well, I mean, like, I lived between some people with different religions. I've never had like the threatened, like people threaten me to, somebody's gonna be, Sam, you'll be beheaded. Somebody's
No way.
exactly. I mean, somebody is like, he was threatened to cut my head off just because I have a different kind of opinions about
Yeah.
God, and that's why in the States, and that's the great thing about the United States of America, is that in the First Amendment, everyone is free to believe or not to believe. The freedom of speech, and that's what we are doing right now, helping
Yeah.
other people to reach to that American value of the freedom of thinking, freedom of speech, and freedom from every kind of tradition, religion, and religions that basically were imposed to your life without you like accepting or denying it, because you were a kid. You are just a newborn when you are born with that religion. You will be baptized based on Christianity just because you were born in a Christian family.
Do you know, Sam? Like, I surprised even when I talk to people here in America, and they are Christians, and they don't know about like there are uh, similar characters to Jesus Christ, like Horus. I think we talked about that before in Arabic. they don't know about these issues. It's like he born from a virgin, and then he, like for example, we talking about Horus. He born from a virgin, and
So he was born from a virgin lady, right? Just like
three
Jesus.
skies in a sky led him, and all the story. Like he died on a cross,
He
and
was
the same.
crucified,
Exactly. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the star basically announced his birth, just like Jesus. You know,
Yeah.
Jesus' story is like 21 different versions of that story.
Before Jesus. Before Jesus
I
come.
know it's just everything was before Jesus, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, I just mentioned that because many of them they surprised when they hear about that, and I show them videos about that. They surprise and something change in their brains. They start searching and shaking. Yes, sir.
All right, that's awesome. So the history of religions, episode 2, we talked about the god of Babylon. And just to end and wrap up the episode, because we are basically thinking that 1 hour would be enough as a start. We don't want to go into very deep. We want to help people into like accepting us first. Then, if the people would like us to go deeper, longer time, we'll go for sure. Alex, what do you want to say, like class, before we end up this episode?
Yeah, I just want to say, like in the future, we're gonna have very interesting stories, and we're gonna hear something probably you didn't hear it before. So please be with us, and I just want to say hi and send my greetings to everybody who listened to this episode or are gonna listen to it in the future. Thank you very much for you and for others. Thank you.
All right, all right. Thank you so much. Okay, I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank everybody who supported us. The people who are like waited for us to go live, and they're watching us right now. I want to thank all the people that they're watching the episodes after it was been recorded. Please do not forget to hit that like button, smash that like button, and then the only thing that I want to explain lastly about those episodes, I don't want you to leave your religion. If you're a Muslim or a Jew or a Christian, I don't want you to leave your religion. I just need you to understand that there are some people living next to you who do not carry the same beliefs that you do. And we can share this space together without hurting each other. But there is some people who would not believe that we should have the right to live. There's a lot of people thinks that atheist, like some kind of like I'm a kind of positive atheist. Like I don't really care if you worship God or not, if you have your own version of God or not. I don't care. You're free. You can do whatever you want. The only thing that really bothers me is that the control over women in Islam, the the myths and mythologies used by other believers who thinks they are the right thing and they are accusing us that we should be burned in hell or stuff. Please stop. I don't care about your God. I don't care if there is heaven on earth or in the skies. I don't believe there is something called hell, because you cannot even put any evidence that God does exist. If he does, and you believe really that he does, I will ask you to do one thing for me. Please ask your God to send me $1 billion in cash to my home address. He knows where I live. And I would believe in any God that he would first send me this $1 billion. For that said, I want to repeat the things that's the prayers that I'm going to do every episode. Oh God, pieces and blessing of the God upon Google and the people of Google. Oh, who you believe, please pray and greet him as Google and the people of Google are the great. Will be your prophet Sam calling you from this episode from the First Evidence YouTube channel. This was the History of Religions, episode 2, The God of Babylon. Bless you, and by the way, Merry Christmas to everybody if you're a Christian and you are celebrating. If not, then happy holidays, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Have a great night and a great day if you are on the other side of Earth. Have a good one.